Okay, so in the first video we showed you how to take one of these bad boys apart. Now it's your partner's turn to put it back together. Once again, whenever I'm working with electronic equipment, I need to ground myself from the electrostatic discharge. We do this by doing the Chicago lean. That means I'm going to lean forward, I'm going to touch the metal part of the case, so any free-flowing electrons or static electricity in my body is now discharged. Once we're looking at the stripped case, we can see the power supply, we see our fan with the heat sink. Underneath that is a CPU. We have an additional processor over here. You can see the heat sink there. If we look closely inside, we can actually read. This is where the RAM goes. You see DIM 1, DIM 2, DIM 3, DIM 4. That tells me that these 4 banks are going to hold the RAM. And like I showed you in the first video, we have secondary and primary hard drive connections, and we have the floppy hard drive connection. And over here, you see the word ATX-CON above the power connector. That lets me know that that's the power connector. So let's start by putting stuff together. First thing we're going to do is our RAM. I carefully pick up the stick of RAM. I'm holding it in the middle, once again not touching the gold connections. The RAM will only go in one way. If I try to put the RAM in backwards, the slot is not going to line up with where the cut is in the plastic. Here you can see the slot is here, the cut in the plastic is there. So I'm going to turn the RAM around, and when I put it in, I'm going to notice that the slot of the RAM matches up with the slot in the RAM holder. To put a stick of RAM in, I put one end in first, slide it in gently, slide in the other, it will fit in. Now it's very important that you get over top of the RAM and use 2 thumbs. 2 thumbs, straight down, push, and you'll hear it click. Now you'll have to use a significant amount of force. You can see how my fingers have those creases in it from the RAM. You have to put a lot of force to put it in, and you'll hear the click. If you've done it correctly, you should be able to give it a little wiggle, and it sits in there nicely. So let's do the second stick. So once again, I'm going to pick it up, hold it from the center. I'm going to put the one end in, line it up. Make sure that the slot is lined up with the plastic slot. 2 fingers, get right over top the RAM, push it straight down, and listen for the click. There we go. Check it, give it a little wiggle, make sure that both of the arms are up and have grabbed the RAM, and you're good to go. The next thing we're going to want to do is connect our power supply. So there's one connection, we grab the one end, we line it up so that the clip is at the back, and we push it straight down. It's going to clip into place. The last 2 connections that we have to make are going to be for our hard drive, floppy drive, and CD-ROM drive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually plug in the connectors into the motherboards first. So this is my primary drive. I'm going to plug it into the blue connector because it's primary. Line up the notch with the other notch to make sure they're lined up, and plug it in, push it down. I'm going to do the same thing with the floppy drive. I find the floppy drive connection, I line up the notch, I plug it in. At this point, I now have to put the drive into the system. This is a little bit tricky because there is a lip that you have to watch, and you have to get the hooks onto the round part of the snaps. So what I do, I put it down first so that the hooks are right through, and then slowly slide it down so that the steel cylinders on the side grab the hooks. If you've done it right, it'll lock into place. The next thing we need to do is put our power supplies back on. So I'm going to grab my power cord. It's hiding on me. I'm going to take P5 here. which is a smaller connection. It's going to go into the back of the floppy drive. And it just slides in nicely. Give it a little push, and it clicks. I'm then going to grab this type of connector, and it doesn't matter which one it is, they're all interchangeable as long as they're these white plastic ones, and plug that into my hard drive power connection, which is right here. It only goes in a certain way. You can actually see that it's cut so that the connector will not. If I try and put it in backwards, it will not fit. So I have to make sure that it's the right way, push it in, and that one's done. The next thing we're going to do is do our CD-ROM drive. Once again, I'm going to make sure the lip is underneath the metal. I'm going to make sure the cylinder is going to snap into the sides. So, I put it in, I line those up, I push it down, and it's in there nice and solid. I now have to connect it, so I take the IDE cable, I bring it over, and I look for my connection. Now it's a little messy in here because we have all the other connections in there, but I can see my secondary IDE cable is there. I'm going to line this up, push it down. It's connected there, it's connected in the back. All I need to do now is put power to my CD-ROM drive. I can use any one of these white connectors. So I'll use this one on the end. And I'm going to plug it into the power supply, which is right here. Line it up. It'll only go in one way. Push it down, that's in. I'm going to grab my audio cord. Not all CD-ROMs have this. This one does. I line it up, snap it in, push them down. If they don't push down fully, like you can see here, that means there's something in the way. In this case, it was a power cord. Now, I'm almost done. Common mistake is students leave the black connectors up. You need to push those down when you close up your case. Make sure that you have no wires over the top of the metal bar. And then you bring your case, sit your case in front so it's even, and roll it back towards the back of the computer. Push down. When it clicks, you're done.